Tyler, wow, we are running the latest, at least time wise. I'm sure, like,
Hey.
I'm sure time wise we're fine, but like, it's 10:30, so let's jump into your worm, Tyler.
I don't think we've beat the 4 hour mark.
No, we did it.
No.
We did start late, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
All right. So I'm doing some worms still. I think we should keep it like 3 arcs a week maybe, just to keep everybody a little bit interested.
I'm gonna let Tyler have some kind of reign over how he wants to talk about it.
Yeah. So I think I finished up with arc 3 or a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I made it through the full bank robbery. And Taylor now has her name Skitter.
Yeah, and
Oh yeah.
she did not get to choose it.
No, she did not. Uh, that was given to her by our boy Gallant. He's just like, hey, what would it be like if we gave you a crappy name? And they were like, that's fair.
Yeah,
And so
I think his reasoning was like originally they wanted to call her something horrible like worm or maggot, and he's like, okay, well, if we got beat by someone with a shitty name, that's gonna be really embarrassing for us.
yeah, so they're like, we have to give her a somewhat formidable name.
Plus, then they'd have to say "Take that, you worm" when they defeated her. So
Oh, that'd be terrible.
yeah.
So arc 4, Shell. This starts off with some tricky stuff gonna happen. Oh shit! What did happen? I'm
Bakuda
going back through
happened.
I'm going back through my notes.
My man got notes.
Yeah. So this is post bank robbery when they're all like undercover and like trying to like lay low while the heat dies down. And so Taylor gets some one-on-one time with Lisa, and this is when they're not in their hero personas. So like this is her getting some real time, to spend with everybody who's in the Undersiders. But
They're shopping, right?
yeah, they're shopping.
Yeah.
They're just out chilling. And then like they go and get some fugly bobs.
Fugly Bobs.
They go get some fugly bobs burgers.
That's good.
And like it's just these small interactions between all four characters while they sit there and have lunch. Like they just didn't rob a big bank, and there's not a bunch of money sitting right beside them. It's really humorous to me. Um, she also finds out like in this arc that 2 of the Undersiders are murderers, and that's kind of on her mind the entire time.
Do you have any guesses?
Oh, yeah, I like had a good feeling who it was at the time, because I guessed obviously like bitch was our number one.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty easy call.
And then like honestly, so I was like, Gru, nah, he's way too straight laced. It's either gonna be Alec or Lisa. And my guess was Alec more than Lisa, just because even though Lisa carries a gun, that just kind of seems for like practicality reasons.
Yeah.
Alec, he like his indifference is like a big thing.
It's worrisome.
And I'm talking about I feel like I'm ruined a little bit now because I'm way ahead of this.
I mean, don't be afraid to just talk about shit. What is Tyler one time?
Tyler's actually on like arc 8 or 9.
No,
you're
I'm on 10. I'm on Parasite.
I don't see why we just don't fucking go for it. Just swing for the fences.
All right, so yeah, I definitely thought it was gonna be Alec just because he has this like blasé attitude to everything, but it's like it's not because he's lazy. It's just because he's seen a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And like as we start to like sit down with these characters and Taylor wants to understand them more, she realizes why each character like has these attitudes, and we get a lot of backstories for each character. I think the one character we actually get the least backstory for is Brian. Like we get like he gives us his idea of like his how he got his powers, and like they sit here at Fugly Bob's and they talk about their trigger events.
I feel like that's pretty significant information release.
Yeah, we don't talk. We haven't heard about Lisa or Alex trigger events. I don't think yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, not yet.
Alec gives a little bit of insight onto what his family goes through about trigger events, but he doesn't go into absolute detail about his.
Yeah, because his dad is like a nationally known supervillain, I think.
Yeah.
They said.
Yeah.
And it kind of like one thing I like to talk about with Alec is, he kind of has that just like indifference to like life and people in general.
Mhm.
And we know his dad, Heartbreaker, like has this emotional control. And I think Alec would say like, he would hit the kids with like just like waves of like terror or whatever if they didn't do what he wanted. So it's kind of no wonder he ends up such like an emotionally drained guy.
Yeah, like that makes absolute sense. So Fugly Bob's, the like bitch still is gone. She's AFK right now. But so they go shopping, they get back to the hideout. Boom. Mosquito and the amber on the table. I think it was actually a dragonfly that like Brian gives to her. And I'm like, oh man, this is more proof Brian's gonna die. and like I think I was actually with Bradley, and I'm like, "Yo, Bradley, when's Brian dying?" And he's like, "Man, I ain't saying nothing." I'm just like, I'm keep hogging him. I'm like, "All right, when's Brian dying?"
He dies next chapter you read, Tyler.
Yeah.
That's what I get told every time I ask. Is next chapter.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, yeah. Like,
I was mistaken. It's the next one. My bad.
Yeah.
So we introduced to like their first significant battle. Like they actually get bamboozled this arc.
Yeah, because like they've had there's been smaller fights up to this point if you want to call the bank robbery a small fight with how many people there were, but like Bakuda is like a huge step up in stakes.
Oh man, Bakuda, shit, this bitch is crazy. This shit straight up terrifying. Like
the torture she does on, I think it was gonna be Brian, where she's like, I'm gonna put this thing where he's gonna like explode in slow motion. It's gonna fuck up his face.
Yeah, and she has like a bomb that like makes the guy melt.
She's definitely like a Tinker 9 or some shit like that.
She is strong AF for sure.
Bitch is crazy.
This is one of my favorite fights in Worm, where like I can vividly picture her chasing them down in the Jeep and shooting these grenades that slow down and stop time. It's a really cool visual.
Go ahead.
Freaking one deal with the Bakuda fight. I feel like this arc is an arc where Alec just gets to be hilarious because like first whenever they went shopping in the previous arc at the bank robbery, he totally fucked up Kid Win, and then when they go shopping he buys like a Kid Win t-shirt. And then during the Bakuda fight he's like, after the dude melts, he's like, oh, that was really cool, and Bakuda's like, oh, thanks, like I did it by this and this and this, and he's like, oh no, like I don't care how you did it. I'm just saying it looks really cool.
This makes me think that like every person there could have melted like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah, she put bombs in all of these people to like make them obey her.
Yeah, man, she's just straight up trying to get the Asian boys like all repped up and like superpowered now. She's just pissed at the world. And like I keep expecting Oni Lee to show up at this point, but not yet though. No Oni Lee yet. Bakuda's scary enough as her own, and it's like this reminds me of like this moment in Destiny where like you finish this mission and like you get all the UI and everything, and like they open like you get your reward, but then there's no reward, and it's like the Undersiders open up the trailer and there's nothing, and then you just be like run, and then it's like they're running through this yard the entire time just trying to escape Bakuda.
It's like you see there's no reward, and for that first few seconds you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Let's completely skip Uber and Leet here.
I was about to say we got Uber and Leet, and like I read the descriptions about their costumes, and I was sitting there the entire time. I'm like, what the fuck are they? And then she was just like, oh, they're Bomberman. I was like, I get it.
Yeah, and then like I reread the description for their costume. I'm like, oh, there you go.
Yeah, and it's like this entire time is kind of like Bomberman, like she just has a bunch of bombs planted and they're running around and it's like, oh, explosion, run the other way. Oh, it's great. And honestly, this entire time I'm wondering like, where is bitch? And I'm
Yeah,
really
because they
glad that
came
we
here like, she was supposed to be here with the money, and she, like, wasn't here when they, got here.
each got fucked up. It was great. So, they finally like this gives us insight onto what happens if somebody approaches the Undersiders versus the Undersiders getting like the ambush, the preemptive strike on people. And it shows us that, dude, like they really can't do shit. Like I thought they were about to get like really messed up. And then we kind of get insight into that onto the bank heist whenever like they're like, oh, we have the edge on them, but then Glory Girl and Panacea show up. And it's like, oh no, like whenever they're caught off guard, shit really gets bad for them really
Yeah.
fast.
I think you have a good point there, because like I think also during the bank robbery, before they decide to kind of go on the offensive, Taylor's like, you guys usually succeed at what you do because you can kind of choose your fights and run away when you need to. But she's like, we can't do that here.
Man. And then so like the running and then the explosion happens where like Taylor helps them nimbly escape. And then like it just cuts to the next chapter and it's like Taylor's on her couch and she hears people in the kitchen talking. She hears Brian, Lisa, and then she hears her dad. I'm like, oh shit, this is what I've been waiting
Big
for, man.
alarms.
I was
Yeah,
like,
it's like the fact that they're
alright.
here with her dad, you're like, oh god, no.
But at least it's them two, you know? Like they're normal people that can handle other people.
Bitch and Regent being here would have been a
Oh
disaster.
god.
I actually would have loved Alec just to be there and then be like, why is Taylor hanging out with this guy? Does she
Alex like, why's your kid such a nerd?
He'd make bug puns the whole time.
So then we have we have those interactions with Danny meeting those Lisa and Brian. I thought there was going to be more kind of like sorry, of a relationship that like goes into that and we see more details, but as we see later on, Danny starts to get phased out a little bit and I'm okay
Yeah.
with that.
Oh.
I'm like Taylor talks about her mom a lot
Yeah.
and about the type of character that her mom like embodied and the way her dad worried about her, and I'm just like, man, Taylor is just really this badass, and it's like she's trying to escape the worst parts that she's inherited from her dad's personality.
Yeah,
And
she
trying
talked
to
about like his anger issues and stuff.
yeah, and or like really his fear. I feel like she's scared to embrace who she is a lot right at this point in the story.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's like when she starts to embrace her mom's side more, she starts to be happier and freer. And unfortunately, that's a negative thing for her dad because her dad isn't as much a free spirit as she or her mom was.
I mean, later in the part you read, she straight up like storms out and kind of leaves her dad, and I mean
that's another arc.
Okay. Yeah, if we're going arc by, well, you've read it. Whatever.
I'm trying.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right.
So we have the interlude with a little bit of Purity and Kaiser interaction. This feels like I feel like this interlude is in black and white, and Kaiser's just like in this high-rise office, you know,
I could
and
see
like there's
it.
just like smoke around him, and he's got his like Game of Thrones throne in there.
That'd be cool. Willer and I like to talk about what some scenes will look like when we make our Netflix special of Worm.
It's just very noir.
It's definitely like a grimy scene. Like he feels like a just disgusting man.
He does, and I already don't like him in this. It's we just get a little bit of insight to both these characters. I don't really have much to talk about with this one. I didn't find it too fascinating, especially compared to the next interlude.
Hell yeah, dude! This interlude kind of sold me on Worm early on.
This is Brutus is a good boy,
and this is funny because like both with characters and certain chapters, people can have like very polarized opinions. Like on a reread, this is a chapter that I pretty much always skip. But then like some people are like, it's the best fucking chapter. Like my brother was like, I love this chapter so much.
I feel like this was a really fun writing exercise for Wild Bow.
Yeah.
I feel you on like this is like probably just a one-time thing. Like I don't need to experience this more, but it was great.
It was great for
And
the time that you did.
yeah, I just like getting this little insight into Brutus, and like the experience that he has as a dog, and it's just like, oh wow, it's not animal cruelty. This is great insight onto what the dog goes through,
Yeah.
and it's like his relationship with Bitch. Uh, I just thought it was all neat, and then it like gets very gruesome, and I'm like, even though it got as gruesome as it did with the dog fights and everything, it was still like not that bad.
It was wholesome.
It was
Yeah.
very tastefully
Wholesome
done.
dogfights.
Yeah. So arc
In Arc
5.
5, boy.
5. Let's see what happens in this arc. Uh,
Is this
The,
the Brian and Taylor arc?
This is a long round 2, I
Oh
think.
shit, dude! 5 through 7 are the arcs I remember the least, so this would be helpful.
Ah, yes. This is the arc that starts off with them meeting at Somers, this like hole in the wall place.
Oh yeah, like the big villain meeting. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is where I feel like we get like a shitload of characters introduced at once.
Overwhelming amount, yeah.
We do a little bit. I was able to keep track of them all as I went through this, though. It was great. The entire time I was listening / reading this, I was thinking just like, what is it? And it's like, what is that thing from like the League of Heroes or something, or like Super Friends? It's like, later that afternoon at the League of Villains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like thinking that, and I like how we get Coil introduced into this and all these bigwigs and who are the important people. It's like Kaiser, Coil, Fault Line, and her crew, and we get all these side characters that are introduced. This is like a One Piece arc, where you just get all these colorful characters introduced, and it's great.
Some of them will be very relevant for future
Oh
events.
yes, and they
And,
all start talking like, hey, the ABB fucking sucks. Do we all agree? And even the coked out meth heads over in the corner who aren't allowed to sit at the big kids table are like, oh sure, I guess like we can do nothing.
I loved like the dynamic between some of the groups where like Skidmark's like, well, I'm the leader of a group, so I get to sit at the big kids table, and everyone's like, no, you don't. And so Skidmark, I think like points at Gru, and he asks Kaiser, he's like, well, I mean, you're racist and he's black. How come Gru gets to sit there? And he's like, well, I mean, at least I can respect him. He's like, you're fucking Skidmark.
When the racist says he respects you less than the black man,
Who's in all black?
Jesus. That just goes to show you how much like the gulf between Kaiser and Skidmark.
Yeah, I don't think we expected a lot from a guy named Skidmark, but Jesus.
Oh boy. But yeah, like they talk about the ABB and how like they're all gonna take turns tag teaming them and taking them out and everything. We get some insight into this character named Hook Wolf, who complains about meeting Bitch, and I'm like, Bitch messing up his dogfighting ring. I'm like, oh, Hook Wolf. Obviously, like her and Bitch are gonna be rivals, wolf versus dogs and everything.
So Hook Wolf is a man. He's a manly ass man.
Yeah.
Because you said her or she or something.
Oh, did I? Oh, my B.
Okay, just
my B. Hook Wolf's some dude. And I'll give a little bit more about him. Yeah, he doesn't have flesh. He's just like made of metal and hooks and like sharp blades and shit.
Yeah.
All right. And then yeah, so like they end up like Gru has this moment with Bitch where he kind of like scolds her a little bit. And like it's really this awkward scene amongst everybody. And it's like Bitch is like looking down into the side and everything because it's like you would think she would fight back, but because Gru is the pack leader,
he's the alpha.
He's the alpha, and she knows she messed up as the non-alpha, so she like knows, and it's like this really animalistic instinct. Like when you scold your dog, they look like away into the side and like cower a little bit. It's great.
It's cool that you touched on that because yeah, a lot of Rachel's mannerisms are very animalistic and her mindset even.
Fantastic. Then we cut to shopping at the mall with Danny.
Ooh.
Taylor spent time with Danny.
Saturdays are for the dads.
And their cars.
Fuck off.
And yeah, so we have this interaction with Emma and her dad. And immediately I'm like, oh great, this guy's a prick. Like,
This is gonna go
I just
great.
imagine some white shorts. This guy wears like a tennis sweater out in public around his like shoulders, even when he hasn't been playing tennis.
What's crazy is I pictured that exact thing right before you said it.
Oh, and then Shadowstalker shows up, and like this is Gru's enemy. So obviously we already don't like Shadowstalker. Because like she just seems like a bitch. She's on probation. She was a rogue. Already she has this real vigilante vibe to her. And then it's like she's getting into here on this business, and it seems like she's pressing around some authority. Like, oh shit, you know, she is actually like trying to make sure everybody's all right, since like I think the ABB's been blowing shit up all across the city for the past couple of like days. Like hundreds of people are getting injured and dying. Blah.
No big deal.
Then we get to the meeting at the principal's office.
Ooh.
Man, this scene made me rethink like my grade school experience a little bit.
Fuck.
Yeah, like it just made me think about like what some kids had to go through. Like I was never on this end of the spectrum. I think honestly there's probably a lot like I never like bullied people in high school, but I'm sure there were a lot of people like saw me on like Emma spectrum just because I didn't want to deal with anybody.
Yeah.
Like I never went out of my way to like hurt people or like be a predator or anything, but like some shit like Emma does where she hurts people. But I was just like I wanted to be left alone at that time. So like
predator's a very good word for it, but I totally see what you're saying here. We're
like I don't know what people like Emma had to go through, and since I went to such a small school, like obviously, like if anybody would have been bullied like that shit, like everybody would have known. Like, there's not a chance to get away with that. But in Emma's case, she's just like fighting this uphill battle the entire time.
Do you mean Taylor?
Yeah, Taylor. I didn't mean to say Emma. Fun fact about Tyler. Tyler knows names, but gets them mixed up all the time. Fun facts about Tyler.
Emma is fighting the most downhill battle ever.
Emma's like already beat the game. She's like got all the unlocks and the cheat codes, she's just playing big head mode, golden gun, slappers only.
Emma pulls out her lightsaber and she says, "It's over. I have the high ground."
She's just Donkey Kong throwing the barrels down and not really having to care about it.
But Taylor, how far can we stretch this? Like, even all these teachers are like, we know these kids are the problem, but then this dad's like, you don't have any proof. And then this is the moment where I respect Danny. He's like, shut the fuck up. He's like, even like, quit treating this like a courtroom. Obviously, everybody in this room knows that these three are bullying Emma. I mean, Taylor. God dang it. Obviously, everybody knows that Taylor's being the one bullied.
And like, Danny says, leave Emma alone, you guys.
Yeah, leave her alone.
Danny gets up and sits on Emma's side of the table.
Danny really tries to do a good thing, but then like Taylor kind of takes it into her own hands, and we start seeing this experience that she's gathered, like robbing a bank, beating the shit out of what was the
Long?
Yeah, Long. I wanted to say a name that starts with a K, and there's 4, and he's one of 4 big pirate people. Because that's who he reminds me of.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, Long, that guy. So like she's getting this nice empowerment to her to stand up to people, and it's great. And she's like trying to take advantage of this passion that she wants. Like she wants to get closer to these heroes. She wants to get away from them and just improve her own life. She knows that nothing can be done to change any situation she has with these current people, and no punishing them would be like anything good for them. She's like, you should reward me for having to deal with this shit for so long, and I want nothing else but this reward. Just send me away from them.
Yeah, this was really cathartic, like seeing her explode here.
And it's man, that really gives some insight on like how her who her mom was, I think. Because she's thinking ahead instead of now. Like in all her passion and anger, she would have been like, no, F these girls, and instead she's like, no, focus on me. And I think that's like a really mature thing that a lot of people even today can't like handle, is like where they have problems and they're like, no, I, instead of like thinking about all these other people and how they're my problems, I'm going to focus on myself and what would be the best thing for me to do. And I really like that moment right there that Wild Bo gives to Taylor.
Yeah. And man, like with this meeting, I think it's really impressive that, you know, in the same arc, we're going to have Taylor fighting for her life and almost dying. But like the one moment in this entire arc that like put me most on edge was during this meeting, she has like a journal where she's cataloged like almost every instance of bullying she can remember, and she starts reading them out, and the principal is like, well, okay, can you just read the important ones? And Taylor like screams like they're all the important ones to me. And like I was just like, you goddamn right.
I don't know what a microaggression is, but that feels like a microaggression.
This is Taylor fighting for her social life, her human life, right here in this arc. Man, there's a lot of great moments in that scene, but there's so much that happens in this arc I gotta talk about more.
Oh yeah.
All right. Mixed group raid of ABB Warehouse. We got I don't even remember all the people who were on our team. We got Sundancer. Ooh. We got Catatonic Collision Girl. Ooh. I don't remember her name, but she's catatonic.
Oh, that would be Labyrinth.
Ooh. Labyrinth. Yeah, already. She got a kick-ass name. We got Poison Dart Frog.
That is neuter.
Neuter.
Which I just realized is like the word neuter, like what you do to your pet.
So we got Neuter, Sundancer, Bitch, Skitter, and Labyrinth all on one squad with Kaiser, Fenja, and Menja.
I'm sure they're going to be really good teammates.
What? Like that? There's just okay. So I have to segue a little bit. There's these two characters on Big Mouth, and they're both Swedish twins from Sweden.
So you picture
and they're blonde, and they.
Big Mouth.
I'm like, this is just Finja and Minja, and they walk around and talk like this, yeah. And they just like if like at one point in Big Mouth, one of them gets black hair, and the other one gets really pissed off about it, so they don't look the same anymore.
Tyler, now I'm always gonna picture these characters with big mouths from that show
and Swedish accents. Don't forget the Swedish accents. Anyway, all right, so Kaiser's already off to a bad start. He's like, fuck y'all, I'm gonna do things my way. Goes dances off. Man, Skitter gets some great moments with this because she starts saying like Neuter's like kind of a badass, and we start getting more insight into all these other people and their powers, because it's like Underside have been doing pretty damn good for themselves, but obviously these other groups are established enough that they can handle themselves just as well. Mm-hmm. And we see that not everybody is just straight up powerful, and it's great. Everybody, all these, like, we get more insight into parahumans in this, and just people have really batshit crazy powers that they have to learn how to use. Like, Neuter's just basically just drugs. Like, his skin is drugs.
I am drugs.
And it's fantastic. Sundancer's just like, I am a sun. I can make suns.
My stand is the sun.
Yeah, this is great. So the scene starts. They're all taking care of ABB. Neuter like flies into this warehouse, and you just get a bunch of naked Asian people on the ground floor. I'm like, oh shit, they're dealing coke. They're putting together like all these drugs and everything, because that's the most stereotypical scene ever, is when you walk into a warehouse and there's a bunch of Asian people in their underwear.
If I had a nickel.
If we had a nickel for every time.
Asian people in warehouses equals coke?
I'm pretty sure
if they don't have clothes on, yeah, they're putting together drugs.
Why are they clothesless? I don't know about this.
I think Taylor speculated they didn't have clothes, so that way they couldn't like steal some drugs for themselves.
Wow.
Think about in your favorite show, Breaking Bad, before they get access to lab equipment, how they cook in meth.
Well, yeah, all right. Good,
yeah,
good pull.
Doing drugs in your underwear is the cool and hip way to create drugs.
Walter White started it. You're right.
That's the real Walter White Halloween costume.
Yeah, like she's like tracking Skitter. I mean, she's tracking Neuter as he goes through this, and he's like knocking everybody out, and it's great. Bitch is in there taking care of shit, and then just like everything seems to be going really well. And then in comes Oni fucking Lee.
And this guy's terrifying because, like, he's a very early instance of someone who tried to, like, min-max his power, where he's like, oh, well, if I just carry a belt of grenades on me, then I can just teleport, and then my clone suicide bombs all over the place.
This guy is terrifying. Oh, we also have cool coil soldiers in there. They're gunmen.
Oh, dude.
He's got elite, no parahuman powers, but these guys are super clutch in this fight.
Coil Sniper is an MVP.
Dude, yeah, he is. So, like, Oni Lee, he never has to be present anytime he wants to assassinate anybody. It is a wicked, crazy power because it's like he just teleports somewhere and then, like, he's like, all right, I'm going to kill you. And then he's like teleports away, but he has his echo shadow that's like still carrying out the assassination, even though he's not there anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Like, holy shit. But then this is what a great advancement in Taylor's powers, where she's like, oh man, I can track him with my bugs. Ooh, this becomes a thing later on. Fantastic. Loving it. So she's like tracking Oni Lee as he's like boop, 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 and then she's like over there 4 o'clock or something, and then like these snipers are just on point, just like laying bullets into him, and then Oni Lee is like, the snipers, and like comes up behind him, throws them both off the building. I think he cuts one of them's arm off. No, he breaks one of their arms. And then this guy pulls this like Gun Gale Online crap where he's falling out of this tower, lands on the ground, and then uses like one hand to shoot the sniper bullet into Oni Lee at one point.
God,
and then like
insane.
For some reason, one like wording that I always remember from this arc is whenever it says the sniper shoots Oni Lee's knee, it says the sound was like a cork popping out of a wine bottle, and I'm just like, oh god.
I can't even remember like the vivid details in this battle at this time, and I'm so sad that I wish I took more notes on it.
No, you're good. Nah,
you're good. I think those are pretty comprehensive.
Yeah,
because it's fantastic, and like even to the point where they start cornering him, they don't even know how, because Labyrinth just starts actually doing things, and everybody is like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, Oni Lee just starts flipping out. Like from even my point is apparently Labyrinth just incepts people, like in real life. She starts pulling Inception and Doctor Strange crap, where like she just starts bending their perception of the universe.
I think I've gotten to the chapter where her powers explained, and I don't get it, right. It's been explained by now for me, right, Bradley?
About as much as you can explain.
Even I don't understand it, so I don't know.
But Oni Lee has to end up fleeing because after Taylor can track her with her bugs and Labyrinth does whatever to Oni Lee Labyrinth does, he's just like, all right, F this noise. I'm out of here. Catch you guys on the flip side. And then like the wall crashes down inside of the warehouse. Neuter is knocked out. I think he got knocked out by Oni Lee. And that's like how the fight started.
Yeah. And then it was Xie's Lung, and I think she says like at this point he's already way bigger than he was at the end of her first fight with him. Which is like scary.
Yeah, like she's like Kaiser has already pissed Long off to the point to where it's like point of no return. And they're like not winning this fight. Kaiser, Finja, and Minja, and like these swords are spawning out of the ground everywhere, like attacking Long, and he doesn't care. He's just like shattering through them.
Long is a hyper carry.
Yes, he is. He like bashes into Minja or Finja, one of them, and like knocks them completely out. And then I think he knocks like Kaiser like far away from the fight. And it's like this entire buildup is like, I imagine this moment where he's in the same room with Neuter, and like there's this long hallway, and he just spies Sundancer and Taylor. Skitter might be. And he just like, you hear this, you. Yeah, like the voice effect and the audio was great.
And then he says, "Crank that soldier boy."
much. But he just starts like charging at her, and he's like, he knows it was her, and at that point, he doesn't care about anything else.
Yeah, he's fucking pissed.
Yeah, and I think, is this the fight where he starts to like at one point he gets a giant sword through him, like impaled on the ground. This is like Ragnarok from Golden Sun size sword, and if you don't know what that is, that's like 30-foot long sword.
Yeah, Kaiser does crazy stuff where he makes like a giant like blade in the ceiling, and it's like the blade is so huge that it like makes the ceiling collapse and it like impales Lung.
Yeah, and this is when Lung looks at him and he goes, "You should have gone for the head, Thanos 2018."
Yeah.
And starts sprouting wings and shit. And it's like, at that point, when Kaiser can't build it, because Kaiser's the leader, you know, I'm like, oh, Kaiser can't handle Lung. Like, he's a bitch compared to Taylor. Like, Taylor's got some low-key good powers, man.
I think Taylor slept on. She's a niche pick in this meta.
I think Taylor sleeps on herself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at arc 10 that I'm at, I'm kind of upset I haven't seen her wanting to advance her powers anymore, like, and explore what she can do. I'm still a little bit frustrated by that. But you know, maybe we'll see more as that comes out. But anyway, Taylor pulls this what's that show from the 90s where like pulls this MacGyver shit.
Yeah.
On Lung. Where like Sundancer's been trying to hold him off. I think Labyrinth is just like off away outside of the building. And just is like just standing there, you know. Both of Coil's bodyguards are out for the count because they fell off like a 3-story building.
And it's like Kaiser's one thing, but if Coil's sniper is out of commission, then like you're really done.
Yeah, and bitch got like thrown out of the entire building, I think, at one point.
She gone.
Yeah, both of her bitches got thrown around like the bitches they are.
Poetry.
And sons of bitches. And then like he's like Lung starts running at Taylor, and then he like just collapses right in front of her. Or no, like he has her like in his claws, like, and he's like squeezing around her, and like she can feel it, and she's like, "Thank God I reinforced this with spider silk, otherwise this would be cutting into my flesh right now." And then he just like collapses on the ground, and I think she got a caterpillar, put it on Neuter's body, and then had it flip over, and it passed out because of the drugs, and then got a moth to pick up the caterpillar and then carry it into Lung's eye.
Yeah, because like I think we see from Neuter, like either earlier in this arc or maybe in the interlude, where it's like I think even him just touching someone is like enough to knock a normal person out, and she like rolled this bug around a Neuter's blood, which I assume has to be more concentrated.
Yeah. This is like the best use of her powers I've actually seen. So like these are two great moments where she's like, all right, I'm gonna use other people to my advantage and do these cool shenanigans with my bugs to help me get out of this situation. Like that's a very realistic thing I can see happening. Like very good. I love this moment to where nobody's like, oh, she sprouted new powers. No, she used her environment around her to escape her situation.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the moment when we see Taylor, like, I feel like she takes out all of her day and week on Lung at this point. She just straight up gouges his eyes out.
Yeah, you know, she did not have a good day up till now.
And Sundancer's like, you didn't have to do that. And she's like, fucking, yeah, I did.
And like, it's kind of one of those things where a lot of people have kind of similar reactions to the scene where it's like Taylor, you're technically right that yeah, that is gonna keep him incapacitated until, you know, people can arrest him. So like we're not saying you're wrong. Like we're saying like yes, it worked. We're just saying like it's really fucking concerning that you did that in the first place though.
Taylor just knows, honestly, this is a really smart thing to do because she didn't have like any tranquilizers or anything to like incapacitate him like Arms Master did. And I think she also remembers that if she did have her she did have, oh god, what are they called when you're allergic to something? She had the EpiPens.
Yeah.
Those probably could have neutralized him, but she remembers like that could kill him.
Yeah. I know
After
she in her brain she's like, "Oh, well, I mean, it's okay. He's a regenerator. He'll grow his eyes back in a couple months or something." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that makes it totally okay to
oh
get
man,
his eyes out."
when he's growing his eyes back.
Ooh, you just know.
So yeah. Um they carve out the eyes, and she has her interaction with Bitch about it all, and Bitch like gains a little bit of respect for her.
Yeah, doesn't Rachel like give Taylor her jacket?
Yeah, she does. And I like the so there's one key note. So everybody who's in this fight with Oni Lee and Lung, nobody dies. This is great. Everybody just gets really fucked up. And like as they're about to leave, Taylor's like, "Hey, y'all want a bunch of free money?" And everybody's like, "Yeah, dog, we want this free money." And I feel like Taylor just instantly gets brownie points with everybody in that crew except 3 people who were knocked out, except one was Finja. We'll go into that later on.
And
But
I think one thing, this arc, I'm pretty sure is the first ever instance we get of Taylor's power doing stuff without her telling it to. Like, she kind of like tells it to gather this money, and she's normally conscious of what her bugs are doing because she's like making them do it. But she forgot that they were gathering this money, and she just sees the pile of money outside.
she's like, "Oh, hey, dude, free money, yo, sweet." And then like her and Bitch later on are like, "Hey, if you answer one question, I'll give you all the money." And Bitch is like, "I shoot." And then like she's like, "Did you think I was being sarcastic when I said thank you?" And she's like, "I don't know." And she's like, "I don't know." And she's like, "All right, you answered. You know, you have the money. You do you." I'm like, "Oh shit." This is when Taylor starts to get a little bit of insight into Rachel. This is a great interaction that has some foresight on some future problems, and then we get the interlude with Fault Line's crew.
Ooh.
And this is the part that this is our introduction into parahuman default, like not defaults, just faults in general, like what comes as a side effect of having parahuman powers.
Yeah, because I think like everyone in this crew in some way like was altered by their power.
Mm-hmm. And that's like the thing about Fault Line's crew is everybody's like their entire like motive and what they're looking for is really interesting.
Big mysteries surrounding them.
Yeah. And it's really great because we see faults not only into just like Rachel, Fault Line's crew. Skitter even has faults of her own. So does Rachel. Like, even the heroes, we start to understand everybody starts to have parahuman faults. And like there are issues that come with having parahuman powers. And it changes a lot of like their like brains, like the way their brains function and their physiology, even like to the point of like not having specific human organs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
it's interesting.
Yeah. So arc 6, Taylor becomes a real undersider. So this is when Taylor's like relaxing and she's recovering, and the rest of the undersiders are going to like doing on their raids and everything. We hear a little bit about here and there about some other ABB attacks, but I think at this point this is when like Bakuda is like threatening like the entire city with a bomb.
Yeah, she's like, I think she built like a mega bomb.
Yeah, she builds like the mega bomb. And I think like she actually gets stopped.
But the real important thing is that Taylor gets to go goo over Brian.
Oh yeah,
Jeez.
this is like when Taylor and Brian have their little interaction. So she goes she goes over to Brian's place, and like Brian drives her over no, he meets her there, and he's sitting on the front porch just like bathing in the sunlight. He's like, man, what a beautiful day. Today's gonna be great. And she's like, oh shit, look at that fucking sexy ass man right there. And like puberty's hitting her hard right now, and she's like,
Yeah, she takes a long time to describe his shoulder muscles.
A wise man once said, "Description fucking."
And Bradley, we talked about Brian, the age difference between these two characters, and that's when I remembered Brian is 17 because he cannot legally take care of his sister yet.
That's right.
Hey,
so this is not a weird situation.
There you go.
This is definitely not a weird situation for teenagers. This is like a freshman like liking a junior, and like in high school we'd all be like, ew, wow, that girl is a freshman, she likes a junior, gross. But it's like, bro, like
that would have been me.
Yeah, but it's like now as we all look at each other, it's like, oh, what, I'm dating someone, like you date someone 2 or 3 years younger than you, like whoop, like no
I just
big
really
deal.
loved like moment when I think like his hand brushes against her and she's like, if I was a cartoon character, this would have been when like steam shoots out of my ears or something.
Awooga.
Oh yeah, she's awooga this entire time. This is fantastic.
There's that interaction with Emma, I believe.
Not yet. Okay. That's later on.
Might be.
So she's over at Brian's place. They're putting together furniture, and then Aisha and the social workers walk in.
Ooh.
And it's like, oh shit, like we thought you were gonna be here at a different time. And there, she's like, nah, Aisha said this time. And it's like, Aisha, why are you being a little shit? You know, like
you're gonna that question is very often asked.
And then like they go upstairs, caseworker's showing up the place and everything. Caseworker eyeballs Taylor, and she's like, you can finish out private time. And I'm like, bitch. And she's like, no, she's just a friend. She's helping me put together furniture. And it's like, yeah, whatever. And then like Brian and the caseworker upstairs, and Aisha just turns over to Skitter, and she's like, so you a supervillain too? And she's like, the fuck?
It was not
what? She's like, has no clue how to handle this situation. And Aisha just starts going off about the undersiders and everything, and it's like, I'm sorry, like what? But luckily they come back downstairs. Caseworker talks about more crap, blah blah, and then sadly, this is when Taylor starts to realize she's getting attached to these characters.
Oh no!
And she starts having her dilemma. We open up on Taylor shooting up an email. I think no, she plans to tell him within a week. She just was like, all right, and in her head, like, I'm gonna tell everybody within the week because just tell them what I know.
Who could have seen this coming?
And then they're like, the ceasefire's over, and then they get back to the loft, and Lisa's like arguing on the phone, and they're like, why are we doing this, blah blah blah. And then she's like, we have to crash a party. And they're like, what? Why? And they're like, to embarrass the protectorate. They're like, no, nobody's gonna do this. And then like she's like, $250,000 each. And then and then Alec is like, awooga. Hell yeah. Awooga. And so they're all like, fine. Man, y'all can testify. I was losing my shit at the end of this arc.
Dude, yeah, you were on Discord, and I think it was like past midnight, and you're like, guys, shit's going down is all I'm saying.
To quote this forum in front of me, things go less than optimal. Like they bust into this glass ceiling, shards raining down all over everybody, and it's like great because like I imagine they land, everybody in the room's like, the fuck, and then they're all like having to take around and look around each other, and everybody's like this showdown standoff, shootout where everybody's waiting to draw, and then Brian just like engulfs the place in darkness. They take out the PTs, and it's like this moment, it's like action. And it's like she realizes Emma's at one point on the floor cowering about everything. She's like, "Fuck you, Emma." It's like, "I'm gonna sting you with a bunch of wasps."
I forgot
like,
she did that.
Yeah, but she didn't because she had to take care of the other people. Because like,
Ah.
not only are the wards there and get taken taken out immediately. This is great insight into what happens later with the future wards. Once Weld joins the crew.
Yeah.
And I really like that because Weld realizes that the wards get taken out very easily in almost every fight. It's fantastic.
Gotta get their shit together.
They do, because they're 0-3 so far.
But they have Kid Win on the team, man.
You can't lose if your name's Kid Win.
Yeah, so they're 0-3 right now. And I like the point where they're dousing the wards in the PT foam. So this is where we learn about the PT foam that really just is like, it's the bad guy from The Incredibles, those sticky balls that just like absorb all over you.
Oh yeah, Syndrome's
Yeah.
black balls.
Yeah, these are Syndrome's black balls.
Yep.
That's what I imagine this foam is, and it just like literally incapacitates anybody except maybe Armsmaster. I'm sure he's got this like ball diffusing anti-ball foam like in his suit somehow.
Containment foam confirmed OP.
Containment foam is the only world-breaking aspect of Worm. It's
these is Syndrome's black balls, man.
What if everyone used Syndrome's black balls? I don't know. Anyways,
I feel like this foam was invented by Dragon, and that's one of the few things like that's under wraps. But anyway, so yeah, things start going less than optimal, and they get to another point to where Armsmaster steps in, and like the black Gru's smoke like dissipates a little bit, and Regent is being held at gunpoint by Miss Militia. Bitch is standing off with two other people. Speedy Boy, I think, is
Velocity question.
Yeah, Velocity. Yeah, Velocity.
What the fuck?
And Spark. Anyway, characters we don't have to worry about anymore. But
hey, wonder what happened.
Because I'm that far.
Yeah, I was about to say, who the fuck are these guys? Did they?
People we don't have to worry about it.
Did they get Thanos snapped as well?
They're in the prime of their life. They got the whole world ahead of them.
Thanos,
they went
Thanos
on Protectorate vacation.
Oh, in the farm.
Yeah, they got sent to the Protectorate farm.
Oh Jesus.
And then Lisa's. What happened to Lisa?
Doesn't she bully someone?
No. Armsmaster straight up like sends his like halberd at her and just straight up like knocks her across the room, and then he EMPs Gru and Skitter's foam cannons, and that's when they're having this standoff, and Armsmaster's just like, surrender. There's no way you're getting out of here. And I'm like, really, at this point, this is where I start to get this weird vibe about Armsmaster. Like, I already didn't like him from the meeting that she had with him in the tower when she tells him that they're about to rob the bank. And I think I expressed this last episode.
Yeah.
Armsmaster just seems like an asshole. And then this is where Lisa starts to shine a little bit. And she's like, she drops these hints like Armsmaster is in this just for the spectacle. And Skitter is able to catch on to that. And she starts abusing the shit out of it. And we realize that Armsmaster is just a man who's just he's the typical good guy, bad guy trope. He just wants to be really good at his job, but his powers just aren't up to par, you know?
As the leader of the Armmaster fan club, I am obligated to say that you should go easy on my boy just a little bit.
I'm saying he is well prepared for everybody, and he's got the psychic block for Tattletale, even though that's not her power, which is 10 out of 10.
At this point, he's like a discount Batman.
Pretty much.
Which is pretty good. That's a good deal.
I know discount Batman is like pro version every other.
I wouldn't even say he's discount Batman. I'd say he's straight up Batman. Like, he's prepared for every situation. I really like the way Skitter takes advantage of his counter against her, and the way that he has to counter that she has to counter Arms Master is by putting her body in danger, because he has the end of his halberd that he knocks on the ground to like electrocute bug zap all the bugs in the air, and she throws her body under it to take the like the force of it. But because she's got the spider silk on,
Jesus.
it's very like not
It's like
taking the like
insulated.
yeah, very well insulated. It's fantastic. So they escape. I really like the fight between Skitter and Velocity. That was just kind of a big joke right there.
It's like she's able to like just have so many bugs that it slows him down because like wasn't it like part of his power is that like the faster he goes, like the less force he has?
Yeah, like he can't do any damage to her.
Yeah,
This
he's
is-
like he would punch her like 20 times in a second, but like each of the punches felt like a 3-year-old punching her.
Yeah. And this is where I first started to think about like, man, like some of these heroes suck. Like they're just straight up useless. I was really a fan of Gallant when I first introduced him. I was like, oh, this guy's really cool. And I was like, wait, he just throws orbs of emotions at people. Like,
hey man, that's
I'm like,
cool.
This is a very early One Piece villain. Like, this ain't nothing.
Miss Golden Week basically does that with paint.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a not like this is a very early anime and like antagonist right here. This is nothing. Like
The happy fruit.
And then Bradley enlightened me, like, oh, the good guys take anybody who they don't want being a bad guy. I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, the wards they'll probably take anyone they can get.
Yeah, so they escape. Oh, my favorite moment. Arms Master's just like holding Skitter up in the air, and he's like, blah blah blah, like threatening her, like you this is your last chance, and she's like, I'm gonna figure out who the boss is, and he's like, what? And then she just like smacks her chest, and 500 hornets come out. I was like, oh my god, she's just like a kamikaze this guy with hornets. It was fantastic. And then he catches up to her after he threw his halberd off the side of the roof, and he has it, and he's just like all banged up, and he is fucking livid. Like at that point, I'm like, Skitter, there ain't no way you're about to get on his good side ever again. You just blasted him with 500 hornets just immediately out of your bodysuit.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Like at this point, you know, this arc is kind of where she started like having that dilemma in her own head, like, oh, I'm gonna have to turn over the Undersiders eventually. But like before this, her plan was like, oh yeah, eventually I turn them in and then I join the heroes. But it's like between this and the bank robbery, it's like I think you've burned all your bridges.
Yeah. I'm just like, I mean, even at the bank robbery, she didn't interact with any of the wards. She still could have been a good ward. You know, she just messed up with the new wave at that point.
It's just not meant to be.
Yeah. So Tattletale's like, get to the parking garage. And I'm like, all right. And so Circus and the Travelers show up. Circus was an interesting character because she's not a part of the Travelers.
That's true.
We are introduced to this villain just now, and it's they dispose quickly of Dauntless and Arms Master, and Ballistic just basically brutalizes both of them. And then we have Swamp Monster and one other character that shows up.
Good
It's
old
probably
Swamp
Trainwreck.
Monster.
Who?
It's probably Trainwreck.
Trainwreck, yeah. And like they're just like toss Dauntless and Arms Master aside like yesterday's candy, and Tattletale's like, told ya, just had to get to the parking garage. This is when we meet our leader, just out of the stairwell, casual as ever, struts across the garage. It's Coil.
Oh,
I did not see this coming, but I was like, I'm still glad it was. I was actually just like, this entire arc has just been like, oh man, oof, this entire time. They get the limo ride with Coil, all right? And Coil's like, I'm going to take over this entire city. It's mine. And then everybody's like, all right. And this is where I kind of see like, They are bad guys, but they are not bad guys, you know?
You know?
Debatable.
Yeah. This is where I'm like at this point, I'm like, all right, maybe this is one of those things where it can actually turn out for the better, you know? But he's offering everybody their things and manipulating them, obviously, and then he gets to Skitter and he's like, oh, this bitch don't want nothing, like I can't manipulate her. He probably doesn't like Skitter for that. And it shows the show later on he does not like people who he cannot manipulate because they don't want anything. They're not really driven by emotion too much. They're just kind of like husks. And it's like, yeah, yep. Oh, get it? Because Taylor is a bug girl. Anyway,
You can say they're worms.
yeah. So this is when Skitter's just like, this is it, GG. I gotta get out of here. And it's really funny. She starts typing up her letter to Miss Militia instead of Arms Master.
Yeah, because I think she kind of knows that he's not going to be very receptive.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. We haven't really heard a lot about Miss Militia at this point. I wrote this character off. I was like, all right, this is just a really high up character. You know, she's really cool. She got this green mist that turns into any weapon she wants. That's awesome. And then she like stops to go like home and think about it, I think.
Yeah.
And then she goes back home to see her dad. And her dad just freaking corners her. And at this moment killed me. I was so frustrated at this interaction.
In which way?
I was frustrated at Taylor.
Ooh.
I felt this dad's pain because he's like, he just wants to know what's going on. And like, I feel that. But the problem is, if he could just love her unconditionally, no matter what was going on, that would be okay. But she knows that's not the case. She knows that he's going to worry. And to quote My Hero Academia, instead of I wish I could save everybody, I wish nobody would worry about me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, she wishes her dad just wouldn't worry. And if he didn't, then he would, like, she would tell him, you know? But
yeah. It's a complicated situation.
It is so complicated.
I think when it comes to Danny, Taylor can be a real asshole.
It's like Danny is another character who I feel like people have all kinds of different reads on him because I think pretty much everyone can agree that Danny, he clearly loves his daughter and he wants to help her get past whatever's troubling her. And, you know, he doesn't really know what her problem is. And so he loves her. And then people, like, I think rightfully so, can agree that the strategy he took here was definitely not the right move. Like, if he knew his daughter, he would know she wouldn't react well to this. But then you can also flip it around on Taylor, like, maybe he wouldn't know this isn't right for her because she doesn't talk to him.
Yeah. It's like, she doesn't talk to him at all. She wouldn't even tell him about the bullying situation. And this is where I feel like Danny gets on the same level as a Mr. G, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not that... In this, actually, like, I relate on this a lot. It's like, you just want to know because you want to help, but the other people aren't able to communicate. And you're not able to understand. And that's like the endless negative feedback loop, is not being able to communicate and not being able to understand.
Yeah.
And that just, this scene actually hit me really hard. And then she's like, she feels trapped. And then like Lisa shows up. And Lisa doesn't even say a word, even though she knows, you know, but she knows to let Taylor and her dad hash this.
Yeah. And I really appreciated a certain word choice you had, trapped, where I'm always going to give special attention to moments where Taylor feels trapped. Taylor's trigger event was about her feeling trapped. Like, she was physically trapped in the locker, but she's also talked about how just kind of in general she feels trapped, where it's like if she fights back against the bullies, it's going to get worse. If she tries to tell the adults, it's going to get worse. She felt kind of trapped both in the locker and also just in life in general. And the moments I think where Taylor either gets most upset or goes most off the rails is moments where she feels trapped. And she had been on the fence about, whether she's going to actually be able to turn in the Undersiders or not. Even writing this letter, she was kind of on the fence, but whenever her dad is the one making her feel trapped, she's able to make the decision like, nope, I don't want this.
Mm-hmm. And it's really funny because as she is trapped in this situation, she realizes the one place she isn't trapped is with her crew, the Undersiders. And that's when she decides she like goes home and she like cancels out the email and just shuts her laptop. Man, that was an impactful one.
Time for crime.
Yep, time for crime. And then we have this weird interlude. This interlude was very strange to me.
Which one is it?
This is the one where we hear about Canary. And we're introduced to Dragon. This interlude was probably my favorite moment so far in the book.
Nice.
Because this is a second person like experience of what happens to Lung and Bakuda. And it's like, it's not from a first person perspective. It is from like Canary's perspective. And it's I would like to describe this as second person. That's probably way wrong.
It is.
But I know.
I know what you're saying, though.
It's like, I'm not the reader, and this isn't the main character.
Yeah.
But these other characters are like kind of, I don't know, man. We get a little bit of insight on the birdcage environment life. And Canary, rip her, she didn't deserve that. She deserved better.
Yeah.
Than to be put in the birdcage, but they're like, birds got to go in the little birdcage. But what she did to that guy, probably 10 out of 10.
Ooh, that's
Manipulator 7 right there. Maybe even an 8.
Maybe even.
But the entire experience where Bakuda tries to escape is great because this is like, Bakuda is such a badass this entire time, and then we realize that her as a tinker is just no match for Dragon. Like, she turns Bakuda into straight up Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, it's like she is like Bakuda's so proud of herself that she's like able to come up with this plan to bust them all out, and then when the van doors finally open, they're like, "Oh God, we've already been in the birdcage."
Yeah. Oh, it's great. I really like Dragon's condolences to Canary and like helping her out a little bit to survive. And then Lung shows up and Bakuda's into the house and just straight up beats the living shit out of her.
Fun.
Yeah, I think he's like, when you go to prison, he's like, you can either be someone's bitch or you can take someone out and make everyone scared of you. And we know which one he chooses.
I choose you.
Because you called me a dick.
You.
Yeah, so that's an hour and a half of 3 arcs, and I'm not even caught up to myself yet.
Hey, yo. I mean, we're an hour and an 8, so if you want to fucking go for the home stretch.
Oh, man, no, I can't do it to him on this one.
We'll do, so that'll be 7 through 9 if we're going by this schedule next time?
Yeah, you know what? I may set aside some more time next week. Like, we'll do an earlier recording next week so I can be with 7, 8, and 9 still.
Probably a good idea.
Fresh in me.
We have a lot of Worm followers on this channel, so I'm sure they'll appreciate.
What we could do, if you want to go for like 4, because I feel like you're gonna slowly get very far ahead of what you're talking about.
I'm trying to catch up to you, man.
Yeah, what we could do is try to go for 4 last time, and I'll schedule accordingly. There'll be less stuff.
Yeah.
It'll be a big Worm cast.
Yeah, man. I was checking our stats, man. The Worm followers are fantastic.
They're very kind. They said some very nice words to you last time.
I saw that. That made my heart very happy.
Yeah, you worm people are very nice.
What do we call this segment? I
This
forgot.
is the second ride because
Second
it's going
ride.
with the roundabout / driving theme.
There you go.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's
All
the thing.
right. That's worm talk.
Good.
That's the worm.